The speaking stone. Everyone has a voice. Have you ever felt invisible? Like your words didn't matter, like no one was really listening to you, even when you were screaming inside. If you've ever felt that way, then this story is for you. Because deep down, every human being carries a voice. A voice that is not just meant to be heard, but to be remembered. This is the story of the speaking stone, a story that whispers a timeless truth. Everyone has a voice, and your voice matters. Long ago, in a quiet mountain village, there lived people who rarely spoke, not because they had nothing to say, but because they were afraid their words carried no value. Children grew up in silence, parents gave instructions but never encouragement, neighbors greeted each other with nods, never with warmth. The silence of the village was heavy, almost painful. And in the middle of the village square stood an ancient stone. It was tall, cracked, and covered with strange carvings no one understood. The villagers called it the speaking stone. But ironically, the stone had not spoken in hundreds of years. It was nothing more than a monument, a shadow of forgotten legends. Yet, there was a belief. The belief that one day, someone would awaken the stone, and when the stone spoke, it would remind the village of something they had long forgotten. Among the villagers lived a boy named Arel. He was different from the rest. While others walked past the stone with indifference, Arel sat near it for hours. He didn't know why. But he felt the stone was alive, waiting. He would whisper his thoughts to it. "I feel small," he once said. "I feel like no one hears me." And though the stone gave no reply, Arel felt lighter every time he spoke. It was as if the stone was not answering with words, but with presence. One evening, after another long silent day in the village, Arel sat before the stone again. This time, he closed his eyes and whispered, "Why is everyone so afraid to speak? Why does silence rule this place?" The wind blew. The air shifted. And for the first time in generations, the stone spoke. Its voice was deep, ancient, and filled with weight. It said, "Child, words are seeds, but seeds left unplanted never grow." Arel's eyes widened. The stone continued, "Your village is silent because it has forgotten the power of voice. When people believe their words carry no value, they bury them in silence, and when voices are buried, hearts grow empty." Arel whispered back, trembling, "But I am just a boy, what difference could my voice make?" The stone replied, "One voice, spoken with courage, can awaken many." At that moment, something lit inside Arel. A courage he had never felt before. He realized the stone was not meant to speak for the people. It was meant to remind the people to speak for themselves. The next morning, Arel gathered a small group of children by the stone. His voice shook as he spoke, but he remembered the stone's words. He said, "Do you ever feel like no one listens to you?" The children looked at each other, shy, uncertain. And then a little girl whispered, "Yes, even my mother never hears me." For the first time, someone else spoke aloud what was hidden in every heart. Arel nodded. He told them, "The stone says our words are seeds. If we never plant them, nothing will grow, but if we share them, maybe we can change this village." The children's eyes widened. It was small, but it was a start. Word began to spread, "The stone has spoken again." Some laughed. Others grew curious. But a few elders shook their heads in anger. "Silence is safer," they said. "Speaking leads to trouble, silence keeps peace." Fear gripped many. For generations, silence had been their shield. They believed voices could only bring conflict. Yet deep inside, something was stirring. The children began speaking more openly. They laughed louder. They asked questions. And every day, Arel reminded them, "Your voice matters." Soon, the annual festival arrived. A day when the whole village gathered in the square. But unlike other years, this time something was different. Arel stepped onto the small wooden stage, clutching his chest. His knees shook. Every eye was on him. He remembered the stone's words, one voice, spoken with courage, can awaken many. He took a deep breath. Then he shouted, not with anger, but with hope, "We are alive, but we live like shadows. We have voices, yet we choose silence. Why are we afraid to speak? Why are we afraid to be heard?" The crowd gasped. No child had ever spoken like this before. He continued, "Silence does not protect us, it only buries us, but if we speak, if we listen to one another, we will grow stronger. Our voices can build, our voices can heal, our voices can guide." At that moment, the ground trembled slightly. The ancient stone glowed faintly. And once more, it spoke. A village of silence is a village without life, but a village of voices becomes a chorus of strength. Speak, listen, remember, your words carry light. The people gasped. Tears filled many eyes. For centuries, they had silenced themselves, but now the stone reminded them, every person carries a flame. And words are the sparks that keep it alive. From that day on, the village began to change. At first, it was only whispers. Mothers began telling their children, "I love you." Fathers began asking their sons and daughters, "What do you dream of?" Then came conversations at the market. Laughter spread through the streets. Ideas began flowing, new ways to plant crops, new songs sung at night. The silence that once suffocated the village slowly cracked open like dry soil welcoming the rain. And Arel. He became the boy who had given permission. Permission to speak. Permission to be heard. But the elders still resisted. They warned, voices create conflict, keep quiet, or chaos will return. So one evening, the villagers gathered again at the stone. They asked it, "Will voices destroy us?" And the stone replied, "Silence does not erase conflict, it only hides it, but when voices rise, truth emerges, and truth, even when painful, leads to healing." The crowd stood in awe. For they realized, the real danger was not in speaking. The real danger was in never speaking at all. As months passed, the transformation grew. A young girl spoke about wanting to learn to read. Soon, others joined her, and a school was built. A farmer shared his new method for planting in dry soil. Soon, the entire village had food to spare. A mother stood and spoke about her grief of losing a child. For the first time, she was not alone. Others comforted her, her pain became shared, and healing began. The village that was once silent and lifeless became loud and alive. The speaking stone stood silently in the square, but everyone knew it had fulfilled its purpose. It had reminded them of something eternal. Everyone has a voice, and when voices join together, they create harmony. Years passed. The boy Arel grew into a man. But even as his hair turned gray, he still told children the same truth he once learned. Your voice is your gift, never bury it, never believe it is too small, because one voice can awaken many. The speaking stone remained in the square, silent once more. But it no longer needed to speak. Because now, the people had found their own voices. The village became known far and wide as the Village of Voices. Travelers came to hear their songs, their debates, their laughter, and every visitor left carrying the same reminder: words are seeds, speak them, plant them, and watch the world grow. And now I turn to you. Yes, you listening right now. Have you been silent? Have you buried your voice because you thought it didn't matter? Remember the stone's words: one voice, spoken with courage, can awaken many. Your voice can heal. Your voice can inspire. Your voice can change a life, maybe even the world. So don't remain silent. Speak your truth. Because in the end, everyone has a voice. And the world is waiting to hear yours. And that was the speaking stone. Everyone has a voice. A story that reminds us that silence may feel safe, but only voices bring life. If this story touched you, share it, let it awaken someone else today. Here we learn, aspire, master, reflect, and evolve together. Thank you. See you next time.